Well, guys, the Gold Cup group stage has come to an end, and boy, did it come and go quickly. But we are excited for the knockout stage to start here in just a few days' time. Matty G back here with you on Football with Flags. Thanks so much for joining us as always. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button as well. Today, guys, all we want to do is just go back over the predictions that we made, take a look at the live standings for how these groups ended up, and then give you a preview and some predictions for the knockout stage moving forward. So with that being said, let's get started. Well, we hit it pretty spot on in terms of the United States finishing with 7 points. Figured that they might come out with a draw against Jamaica, and they did exactly so, even though it felt like Jamaica maybe should have taken all 3 points from that result. However, the U.S. did come back strongly against Trinidad and St. Kitts and Nevis. In terms of Jamaica, remember, we only had 5 points for them, but again, they came out and really, I thought, thrashed Trinidad and Tobago. A bit disappointing from Trinidad. However, again, this is maybe one of the best sides we've seen from the Reggae Boys yet. So for them to come out and make such a strong appearance against Trinidad to really take claim of that second place spot at least was phenomenal. As for us, remember, we did have Curacao making it through the prelims and getting to this point. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. As for St. Kitts and Nevis, it was always going to be difficult to try and even get out of this group stage or at least even get some points. Again, they fought well. They were at least able to stay here stateside for a couple more weeks and compete in the group stage, but unfortunately going home. Well, we got the 2 teams correctly predicted out of Group B with Mexico and Qatar. However, certainly not the way that we imagined in terms of how this group went down. Of course, Mexico losing to Qatar in the last game of the group stage, still finishing with 6 points at the top of the table, but a bit disappointing considering how they started against Honduras and even played pretty well against Haiti also. As for Qatar, certainly not the way that they wanted to start off this campaign with a loss to Haiti, especially there in extra time. But the fact that they were able to rally from behind here, get a draw, and then get a result in front of a fantastic crowd there in California against the Mexican side is great for them to get through as well. And also a round of applause for Honduras. I really didn't expect them to do a whole lot in this campaign. Obviously, we know how much turmoil has been surrounding this camp for quite a while now. And again, granted, rosters for most of these teams aren't maybe as high or as competitive as they would like to be, but the fact that Honduras still came in here, got a result against Haiti in Charlotte, fantastic crowd, and at least finishing third in the table, certainly something to be happy for and that they can maybe build on as time moves forward into, camp in the fall. As for Haiti, a bit disappointing. They had a great result there again against Qatar to start off this group stage, but the fact that they kind of fell in behind as time went on, certainly disappointing. And then again, of course, losing to Honduras just was the last dagger in terms of them not being able to get through, even though they had a ton of different chances. Felt like they had a shoe-in after they beat Qatar in the first game, and the fact that they weren't able to do so, a bit disappointing. As for Group C, give all the credit in the world to Panama. They came off of this CONCACAF Nations League semifinal loss and did incredibly well. I mean, again, we did predict them to 7 points, but thought they would get that draw against Costa Rica, not El Salvador, but the fact that they were able to get off to the right foot so early with that result against Costa Rica and then just kind of continue to flourish was fantastic. And really even could have taken all 3 points away from El Salvador. As for Costa Rica, certainly cannot be thrilled the fact that they only were able to get through this group with 4 points. Again, fantastic run in terms of scoring 6 goals against Martinique, but the fact that they were up 5-1 in that game and then allowed it to even become somewhat competitive there down the stretch, even though they never got within 2, is still a bit disappointing to let in 3 goals that late. Still through to the knockout stages, but obviously going to face a tough test now with Mexico as opposed to potentially Qatar on the other side of the bracket. As for Martinique, remember we had Suriname getting to this point. For Martinique, the fact that they were able to get 3 points in this group, battle as much as they did, a really solid showing for them. I think something that they should certainly be proud of as they take back to camp moving forward with the possibility of, obviously qualifying in all those stages and things coming up as well. And as for El Salvador, still disappointing, but again, at least to take 2 points out of this, I think is better than nothing to take 2 draws. They battled hard, but again, certainly disappointing with the fact that Martinique had that red card early in the first half of their first group stage game, and El Salvador could not take advantage of it whatsoever. Felt like they had some really good chances, could have come back, made that a ball game, at least gotten a draw out of that one, or potentially come back and won after being down 2-0, and the fact that they weren't able to do so is a bit disappointing. But still taking 2 points from their other 2 competitors, not bad results. And as you have it there, see Panama taking the group with Costa Rica in behind as we had it reversed. Last but not least, Group D, which we see Guatemala take the group for themselves, 7 points. I had a fantastic run there against Canada, certainly in that second game down in Houston, and then a back-and-forth game with Guadeloupe last night. To have Guatemala come out on top of this group with 7 points. Phenomenal run for them. As for Canada, a bit disappointing. Obviously, we know that their roster looks a little bit different. They're allowing guys to get some minutes and some chances here on the national team. Of course, they look very different. A little bit, sort of kind of the same with the U.S., Mexico, and some others, but to only come away with 5 points, certainly a bit disappointing, especially considering that I felt like they should have taken better care of their chances against Guadeloupe in that first game, being at home in Canada, and weren't able to do so and got exposed several times by guys like Ambrose and others from that Guadeloupe side. And as for Guadeloupe, bravo, a fantastic run in this competition to get all the way from the prelims to this point, to take 4 points away from these teams as well and have a legitimate shot to get it out of the group stage and into the knockouts as well. Just fantastic. Really hope that group can stay together, stay healthy for some competitions in the near future, because they were a lot of fun to watch. And as for Cuba, again, we only had a point for them coming out of our predictions, so to come out with absolutely nothing is obviously disappointing. Even with Canada yesterday, had a decent run, but the fact that they were only able to score off of 2 penalties never really felt like they were totally in the game competitiveness-wise. So certainly disappointing for them. But there you have it. Again, our predictions just a bit backwards, but getting both correct, with Guatemala taking the group and Canada finishing second instead. Now remember, these were just our predictions for the knockout stage. We did correctly predict every team that we wanted to get to the knockout stage right, just some of them are in different places in terms of how they finished in the group, especially with Group C and D. From our predictions, we had Canada going through with Jamaica, Mexico, and Panama meeting the U.S. versus Guatemala, and Costa Rica and Qatar. And again, I felt like that these were all fantastic matchups with some really good storylines to them. But we did, in the end, have Canada going through all the way as champs, with, again, a solid run from Mexico getting to the third place spot, the United States getting to the final, and then Costa Rica taking down Qatar, having an all-CONCACAF semifinal. But that is certainly not how things are going to unfold this time around, as again, while we did get all 8 teams right to at least advance to this phase of the competition, it's not the same matchup. So with that being said, let's take a look at the live bracket and what we're going to see coming up in just a few days.
And as we take a look now at the live bracket, what we're going to see unfold in this year's 2023 Gold Cup knockout stage, we've got Guatemala and Jamaica up there on the top left-hand side. Guys, I think this is a really intriguing matchup. I think both of these teams have a lot of attacking opportunity. I think we could see 5-6 goals in this game, maybe even more. Again, I really feel like this game's going to open up in the second half. Jamaica, again, looks so good up front with their front 5 or 6. But again, Guatemala do really well in space. They like moving numbers forward, getting on the counterattack. And again, they've been able to feed off a lot of the energy from the great crowds that they've had so far in this competition. As for Mexico and Costa Rica down in the bottom, I believe these two faced off back in 2019 in the quarterfinals. Mexico got the better of them in penalties. I'm not sure we're going to see that same type of result in this one. I still like Mexico a little bit more than Costa Rica. I just think Costa Rica in the back have been skeptical. Yes, they've been able to put goals in, but just a bit of inconsistent play compared to Mexico. Again, Mexico hasn't been great, but still feel like Mexico, considering how many chances they had off this Qatar game, should come back strong to start this quarterfinal, really looking to press and get the ball forward and score a number of goals. As for the United States and Canada, remember we had that matchup in our final, but unfortunately this is going to have to be the quarterfinal matchup. For right now, I still like the U.S. in this contest. I just think that they possess a little bit better attacking opportunity, a little bit more solid in the midfield and in the back line as well. Again, Canada have not played bad or poorly really in this tournament so far. I just think that, again, they've been broken down a little bit too easily with their back line. Midfield-wise, they've been so-so, in my opinion. Fairly decent, but not great. I do feel like Canada's going to have to really take advantage of some set pieces and 50-50 opportunities if they want to get past the U.S., and I think the U.S. just need to play as fundamentally sound, not hurt themselves. But in the end, I still feel like the U.S. has a bit of an advantage in this contest. And down there on the bottom right-hand corner with Panama and Qatar. Again, Panama have come off a great group stage. Qatar slipping by there at the end, getting a great win over Mexico. They're going to have to create more opportunities like they did against Haiti and Honduras. Definitely can't have a matchup the way they did against Mexico and just look to hang on, for the entire time. But for right now, I still feel like Panama maybe has an advantage in this contest. I really like the way they've played so far. Just very cohesive group. working together. And I think they've had a bit of a chip on their shoulder from that CONCACAF Nations League semifinal loss. And they've been coming out here looking to, make amends with that. And with that being said, I still feel like Panama maybe has a little bit better shot than Qatar to get to the next round. But again, it's still a very intriguing matchup. I think if Qatar does get back to the semifinal, they're going to have a chip on their shoulder as well. Remember, that's how far they got last time out before getting knocked out by the U.S. In terms of those semifinals, I think Jamaica may slip by Mexico. Again, I just think that they've got some really good attacking options. Again, Mexico have been up and down a little bit, back and forth. It's really going to depend on how well Mexico can convert their chances also, but also as well could see this game open up. Again, we know how Mexico likes to push numbers forwards as well. They like to get on the attack. They like to throw numbers at opposition's back lines. It's going to be a toss-up. I really think this is a potentially mouth-watering matchup. Could see a lot of goals in it as well, but in this one I think I like Jamaica edging out Mexico. And as for the United States and Panama, again, I think this game's going to be a lot closer than people think. I think we could see it go down to extra time, maybe even penalties. But in the end, I think the U.S. are going to be able to convert just enough to get by Panama to get to the final, which leaves us to a Jamaica-U.S. final. And for me right now, I think Jamaica could potentially take the cake over the U.S. I like the way they played against them the first time around. I think if Leon Bailey scores that penalty, then obviously that changes the complexion of that game. Jamaica going up 2-0 in the first half compared to only 1-0 where the U.S. are able to come back with that goal from Brandon Vazquez. So we'll see what happens. But for right now, I would really like to see Jamaica get something done here. Of course, if we have a final, say like with Canada, Mexico, United States, Mexico, that would be great and all, considering those are our three different winners of this competition in its history. But to see somebody else, a new face, win it like Jamaica, that would be awesome as well. Well, guys, thanks again so much, as always, for joining us. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and please leave down in the comments your own predictions for these quarterfinal, semis, and final. It's going to be a great knockout stage coming up here in the next couple of days, and we cannot wait to get to it. So again, like I said, let me know down in the comments any opinions, predictions you've got yourself. Again, guys, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And until next time, guys, we will see you soon. Peace out.